there were 3 terrific bangs. Pele had exploded.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at the most lethal explosions the world has ever fallen victim to. For our criteria, we're including both natural eruptions and man-made blasts.
A mushroom cloud appeared. People who saw this in Hiroshima are nearly all dead by now.
Bhopal disaster. First on our list is the deadliest industrial disaster in human history. In Bhopal, India, in 1984, a pesticide plant had an extremely fatal gas leak.
Almost 40 years ago, this factory in Bhopal, in India, had a leak that released tons of poisonous gas.
When the leak was initially discovered, management thought it was just a water leak. Within a few hours, a terrifying amount of gas had built up, causing immense pressure. The tank broke in the night, and roughly 500,000 locals were exposed to this poisonous gas, with over 3,500 dying almost immediately.
3,000 people had died within the first few hours.
Estimates claim that there have been more than 15,000 more deaths since then, but the true death toll will be impossible to verify.
Has the industry learned anything from this tragic loss of life and the horrendous aftermath that followed?
Chernobyl. In 1986, in the Ukrainian SSR, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant suffered a horrific catastrophe.
So it wasn't worth it. The power was climbing. I didn't know exactly how it was coming. What was that?
Poor management led to inexperienced operators performing a test that resulted in a meltdown. Just after 1 a.m., Chernobyl Reactor 4 exploded and destroyed its entire building.
The chain of disaster is now complete.
"30 people were killed due to the effects of the immediate blast, but the true number of lives lost will never be known. The figure ranges from 4,000 to 16,000 people, with some even going as high as 60,000.
With the 500-ton safety cap blown off and air being sucked in below, the reactor becomes a giant blowtorch.
At least 350,000 people had to be evacuated from the area, and the area still isn't safe to live in. Armero tragedy. Volcanoes are terrifying works of nature. Upon eruption, they'll release tons of perilous lava, ash, and gas. In 1985, the Colombian stratovolcano Nevado del Ruiz erupted, bringing death and disaster upon the nearby town of Armero.
The relatively small explosion melted a mere 5 to 10% of the ice cap that covered the volcano. Nevertheless, it was sufficient to trigger the violent descent.
Estimates believe at least 23,000 people lost their lives, but many blame the government rather than the volcano. This is because scientists had warned them of their impending doom, but the government ignored these warnings.
The mudslides reached the city of Armero, 30 miles east of the crater, at a speed of perhaps 25 miles an hour, covering the city in mud.
13 villages other than Armero were affected, making it one of the deadliest eruptions in human history. It still erupts fairly regularly, but thankfully, the government has started to take it a lot more seriously following this event.
After the disaster, hospital preparedness plans were updated for such cases.
Unzen eruptions. Mount Unzen lies on the coast of Kyushu, one of Japan's westernmost islands. It's still fairly active, and in 1792 resulted in Japan's worst volcanic disaster. One of its immense lava domes collapsed due to earthquakes, which then led to a landslide.
Mount Unzen serves up an extravaganza, some 35 pyroclastic flows a day.
This in turn caused a tsunami, which devastated the nearby city of Shimabara. Since it was so long ago, we can't get an accurate death toll. Historians estimate that at least 15,000 people died, mainly due to the tsunami and landslide.
Within moments, it overwhelms the valley.
So the explosion itself wasn't particularly deadly, but it led to a diabolical domino effect, which wreaked havoc upon Kyushu. Laki eruptions. This explosion was so immense that it altered global temperatures, causing crop failures and droughts in places as far as India.
This eruption produced an enormous amount of lava.
Most of Iceland is inhospitable, with volcanoes being a major factor. One of their worst volcanic disasters began in June 1783, when the Laki fissure began erupting. It wouldn't stop for 8 months, causing 120 million tons of sulfur dioxide to be released.
By the time Laki finally stopped erupting in February 1784, it had emitted 8 million tons of fluorine, a highly toxic chemical.
This had a domino effect, which scientists believe caused droughts and crop failures globally. In Iceland, roughly 9,500 people died, alongside 50% of their livestock. Many of these deaths were due to the famine that followed. It was an immense tragedy, and it's unclear how many lives were lost outside of Iceland due to its effects.
The period from the autumn of 1784 until the spring of 1785 was the most dismal that I ever lived through.
Mount Pully. Our next eruption took place in the Caribbean, in the Lesser Antilles. From April 1902 until 1905, Mount Pully displayed the most activity we've ever seen. It made its way to the nearby city of Saint-Pierre, causing the deaths of almost 28,000 residents during May 1902.
Like a nuclear blast, within minutes, 30,000 people lay dead.
Most of these people lost their lives within 3 minutes on May 8, 1902, when a 100 miles per hour cloud of gas was unleashed on the island.
But it wasn't just the number of deaths. It was the fact that an entire town was transformed into a smoldering shell filled with corpses.
It's believed only 3 survived this ordeal. A further 2,000 deaths were caused later in May, many of them rescuers. It went down in history as the deadliest volcanic eruption of the 20th century.
No volcano in history had ever been so thorough in its devastation, and yet so selective.
Krakatoa. The island of Krakatoa lies in the Sunda Strait, Indonesia. It's one of the most infamous volcanic islands, as in 1883, it caused the loudest recorded sound in human history. On the 27th of August, 1883, it experienced its most violent eruption.
On the 27th of August, 1883, the uninhabited volcanic island of Krakatoa blew itself out of existence.
It was so loud they could hear it in Perth, Western Australia. It caused a plethora of tsunamis and disasters, leading to over 36,417 confirmed deaths. The explosion was so vast that it was roughly 13,000 times the size of Little Boys, the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima.
The eruption was so loud, the sound was heard over 1/12 of the Earth's surface.
The eruption caused a massive shift in the island of Krakatoa's geography, destroying roughly 70% of it.
And scientists of the time struggled to comprehend the geological forces that caused the tragedy.
Nagasaki. Atomic bombs are the most destructive weapons ever created, by a significant margin. They've been used in warfare twice, both occasions being in August 1945 against Imperial Japan.
If Japan does not surrender, bombs will have to be dropped on war industries.
America first bombed Hiroshima on August 6th, then Nagasaki on August 9th. The latter explosion killed somewhere between 60 and 80,000 people in the immediate blast. The majority of them were civilians.
The bomb missed the aiming point and fell into a valley. This time there was no firestorm, but even so, more than 50,000 people were killed.
Nagasaki was the least damaged of the two cities, largely due to its geography and the bomb exploding in an industrial area. That doesn't make it any less horrific, however. It's impossible to calculate how many deaths it caused in the decades following, but we can say for certain that it would be a horrendous figure.
The flash radiation of heat from the blast scorched hillsides as far as 8,000 feet away from ground zero.
Mount Tambora. Indonesia is a region with a variety of active volcanoes, such as Mount Tambora in Sumbawa. In 1815, it was responsible for the deadliest volcanic eruption ever recorded.
In 1815 in Indonesia, the Tambora volcano awakes.
It began in 1812, but it peaked in April 1815. It erupted so violently that it reduced worldwide temperatures, causing a year without a summer in 1816.
What follows are cold spells, bad harvests, and the biggest famine of the 19th century.
Around 10,000 people were killed directly by the eruption, but somewhere between 49 and 90,000 died in the post-eruption fallout. This is what earns it the title of the deadliest recorded eruption, with the highest estimates claiming over 250,000 people lost their lives.
How could a single volcano at the other end of the world cause so much death and suffering?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Hiroshima. For the majority of human history, volcanoes have been the source of Earth's most violent explosions. Comparing the destructive capabilities of volcanoes to man-made atomic bombs is harrowing. The bomb dropped on Hiroshima in 1945 resulted in the deaths of between 90 and 166,000 people, most of them civilians. For decades afterwards, thousands suffered from health complications caused by the disaster.
Ladders, railings, even people left their outlines on stone and metal.
This makes it impossible to calculate how many lives were lost. It was truly one of the most violent acts of war ever perpetrated. Hopefully, it will never be outdone. As nuclear weapons are so powerful now, the consequences would be even more appalling.
Although no one has used a nuclear weapon since, arguments continue as to the morality of dropping the bomb.
Were there any other especially destructive explosions we forgot to include? Let us know in the comments below.